Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. I'm really excited for my next guest. His name is Jeremie Watson. He's the founder of the Watson Agency. He helps businesses scale their businesses to 6, 7, even 8 figures in revenue. He utilizes a unique proven methodology to elevate brand authority, generate high quality leads, and maximize their ROI. Jeremie, thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine, Benson. Good to connect with you again.
Yeah, of course. And we've known each other for how many years do you think? Like 4 years now?
Yeah, 4 years. Wow, that's crazy to think about. 4 years.
It has flown by. And we originally got connected through New Reach when you were one of the directors of strategic partnerships. You ran the affiliate department. Generate a lot of like pipelines and handle some of the growth and revenue over there. That's where we started. And now you're working with big brands and you've launched your own agency and you're moved on to bigger and better things. How has that journey been for you?
It's been a really amazing journey. God has really blessed me in a lot of ways to work with some incredible people and learn from them. Really. So it's been quite the ride. I'll say that.
Yeah, I can imagine. You had a stint there with Clever Investor and Cody's team. How was that experience?
It's a great experience. I think Cody's a very sharp person, visionary minded guy. And I learned a lot, working with Clever Investor for the short time I was over there.
Very cool. Did you work with Forrest at all?
I didn't have a chance to work with Forrest. No.
I think he's still over there. I can't remember, but I know he was over there for a while as well. But you have worked for some big brands, right? So when we started, we were really working on the brands of Sub2 and Astro Flipping, which is Pace and Jamil.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that those two brands are underneath New Reach Education, was like the parent company. But you built out a lot of really cool processes through that experience. What were some of the things that you built there that you've taken to your agency?
Yeah, I was primarily focused on building the affiliate marketing frameworks over at New Reach Education. So just making sure that we had a system to essentially measure affiliate sales in, sales out, and run JV campaigns. And we ran several that were very, very, they had some pretty good results, right? They had great results, to be quite frank. So a lot of the processes by which, I was able to build that out with New Reach Education are a lot of the processes and frameworks that I used before working with New Reach Education, and I'm using right now in my own business. So
yeah, there's an interesting dichotomy there because there's this whole concept of digital marketing, and you got KPIs and everything's measurable and data driven, and then you have this concept of influencer marketing, which in my mind is like almost the opposite of just kind of straight digital KPI driven marketing. How do you balance those in your mind?
I think they're just some principles that are uniform across all channels of marketing, right? You're looking at things like open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, lifetime value of customer. So although the channel may be different, the principles are the same.
So how do you measure influence?
Well, the way that we measure influence is it's measured in the way that you measure awareness, right? It's top funnel. So with an affiliate campaign, just speaking to affiliates, you're looking at things like click rate, right? If email's the channel, how many clicks did it get, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many opens did it open? How many people open the email, right? We call that the open rate. And how many people click? So that's the click-through rate. So we're just looking at strictly awareness there. And if you're looking at paid media, it's kind of similar, right? You're looking at impressions when you start to switch over to paid media. So we call them CPMs, and that's just measuring, by the thousand how many impressions were generated from said campaign, and those KPIs are going to be a pretty good indicator of essentially the awareness and the reach of the campaign.
Right. Because I've worked with some influencers that have large lists, didn't get great impressions or clicks. And I've had some people who have had smaller lists who just they just do what their influencer tells them to do. Is that just a function of people just having being able to engage with people and being able to get them to, engage with the brands that they're promoting?
I think it speaks to the quality of the list and how well the list is segmented, right? Just because we have a contact, that's the acquisition phase of it. But to get to monetization, you really have to provide value and make sure that the product itself speaks to the market. So a lot of times there's a disconnect between the type of product that's being promoted and the market, the people that exist, the market being synonymous with the people that exist on said list. If the product isn't the right product for that market or doesn't speak correctly to that market, that's where you may see low open rates, low click-through rates, and low conversions.
Gotcha. So you've been around the block. You've seen this whole change in kind of like traditional marketing with, SEO and, building landing pages and campaigns. So that goes way back. Like, you've been in marketing for a long time. What were you doing as you came up, right? You grew up in Chicago, some tough neighborhoods, and you learned some things by, just being resilient and getting out of those neighborhoods to now living in Scottsdale and working with these big brands. What was that journey like? Like, what were some of the major milestones along that way that helped you to get where you are today?
I think the first shift was a mindset shift. When I was young in business and just coming up, I think my focus was on outcomes a lot versus behaviors. And when you're focused on outcomes as opposed to behaviors, it puts you almost in a mindset where you're always chasing the next thing, that shiny object syndrome. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs as they're starting out, they run into this, right? And I'm no different, right? I ran into that as well, where I'm just kind of chasing the next hit, so to speak. So really the mindset shift from focusing on those outcomes to behaviors, right? Just really diving in to get better at the craft, really diving in to really master the craft. That was the first mindset shift, I would say. Another big shift was shifting from event marketing, which is where I started, to digital marketing. Because as you know, I was in college learning traditional marketing, 2007, 2008, and they were teaching us about channels like the newspaper, radio, So a lot of the social channels that exist now really didn't exist when I was in school. So to kind of grow with the industry, it's been kind of a serendipitous journey in a lot of ways, but a lot of lessons learned.
Oh yeah. So is that experience then was helped you to create this class framework, which in my mind, it's a mixture of both like digital and then that influencer marketing, because the very first step in class is credibility and that's influence. And then you move into the digital aspects of it where you have, the automation and the sales funnels, and then obviously the offer creation.
That's right. And that's exactly right, Benson. That's the exact framework that's created. But we actually start with the offer, the sales offer. So it's a class framework, but we start with the S, which is the sales offer, because the offer is going to dictate everything, right? That's going to dictate your conversion rates. Doesn't matter how much credibility you have. If the offer isn't a good offer, meaning it doesn't solve the problem of that the market has, essentially you won't be able to convert. So we always like to start with the offer, making sure that it's the right product market fit, making sure that the offer itself is correctly priced, it's the correct pricing model, and it speaks to the problem that segment of the market has. Then we move into the actual sales funnel itself. The funnel is just the journey that users will take, right? Now that could be a web sales funnel, it could be a DM sales funnel. We see those are big right now on Instagram. A lot of people leveraging ManyChat and different softwares to essentially bring the user through the journey directly from the DMs. Those work really, really well. But, based on the offer, based on the market or the segment of the market that you're targeting, selecting the right channel and creating the correct funnel is the next step. Next, we want to be able to automate all these things, right? There's so many tools that exist nowadays that will save us so much time. So creating or stacking the correct automated systems is where we really, lean into next. Then beyond that, you start to generate the leads, right? And I like to break marketing up into two categories: brand marketing and then lead generation. And lead generation is all about getting people into your funnel. Funnel is just a way to capture leads, right? Capture, nurture, convert leads. That's what the funnel is. Awareness at the top as you kind of move through the funnel down to conversion, move through discovery down to the bottom of the funnel, which is where the conversions happen. Law of averages, we know everybody that goes through the funnel is not a customer. So really understanding, what our close rate is. Is it, 15, is it 20, is it 25, 30%? And just focusing on that 30% of people and not focusing on, the 70% of people that won't convert. Beyond that, then you start to focus on, building the brand, building the credibility. And credibility really comes from doing good work as well as getting the message out there through press, right? Through press on the major outlets, television, programmatic, advertising, podcasts, like we're doing right now. So, after you've done the work, you have proof of concept, really showcasing that social proof to really build the brand through testimonials, reviews. That's the process right there. It's not super complex or super complicated, but that's the class framework that we developed.
I like how you broke it down into steps, and you're using an acronym to kind of break apart the major components of it to make it more easily digestible, especially like when you're explaining it to a potential client, right? You could go in there and speak at a really high level that they just don't understand, or you can kind of break it out for them in layman's terms so they understand like what you're going to be doing for them. But let's talk about that credibility piece a little bit, because it's a small world, like as big as we think it is. Like if you do somebody wrong, like word spreads pretty fast. Where do you think, a brand can go wrong that can just really damage their credibility quickly?
I think it's not being transparent, right? People come from different places, different backgrounds. Their communication styles are different. I think it's just being transparent, having that conversation, and just being honest with people, right? This is what I'm looking to accomplish. This is what I'm looking to do. And if you have that conversation with your clients, then I don't think you really run into that issues, because there's an understanding. I think when you operate in those gray areas and there's miscommunication, that's when people leave situations feeling as if they may have been done wrong. And then, you start to get a negative reputation that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think setting the expectations is key, because in this space, and I know you're working with other kinds of brands now, but in the education space, you're sometimes just selling high ticket offerings, right? Education, courses and, masterminds and things that can be, pretty expensive. And, we know that most people aren't going to do what you tell them to do, but you have to convince them that your process is the one that's going to finally get them over the hump. And the chances of them getting there are unlikely. So how do you balance like setting the expectation of something that is rare, but actually still selling, and being honest about like, this price, it's worth what you're paying for it as long as you do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, I think the thing is to not really sell on price, right? Price is obviously a thing and things cost money, but being focused on the big picture, which is the results. So speaking to the results, being super transparent about the results that you can deliver, at a high level. So, I'm not going to tell a person I can get you 2,000 or 3,000 leads if the market can't sustain that, or if I don't believe I can reasonably accomplish that. So I think it's just being honest, setting the right expectation up front, and being able to build from there. Because a lot of times, and this, Benson, as well, marketing is a longer journey, right? With things like press, a lot of these things are evergreen. SEO as well. So it takes time to build a sustainable brand. These things don't happen overnight. So just setting that expectation with clients who maybe aren't as well versed in marketing and the way that marketing works, that, hey, look, I'm not saying next week, you know, you're going to be this huge authority, but over the course of, 60 days, 90 days, you will see these results.
Right. And I was more thinking about like the offer itself, like communicating that offer to their clients,
Gotcha.
right? So that their expectations are right, so they don't damage their credibility. I was still in the vein of their credibility and them maintaining it, because you can come in and have the best system, the best class framework, but if there's something wrong with the offer, right, and the way they deliver it and the way, because the fulfillment, you're not involved in that. Right.
Right.
Right. You're not involved in fulfillment. You're involved in driving the leads and helping them. But it's at one point they actually have to execute and fulfill their promise that you were part of crafting and getting out there. And that's where I think a credibility can go sideways sometimes, because they're just not fulfilling their promise to their clients.
That's fair. That's very true. And we always want to be as ethical as possible, especially when working with clients. So just advising them and best practices in that regard, we certainly can help with that. But yeah, to your point, it is their job to fulfill at a high level. So we want to make sure that what we're communicating to the clients can reasonably be accomplished.
So do you have, a vetting system for you and like who you're willing to work with? Like if a client came to you, or a potential client came to you and said like, hey, I want to do all this stuff. Are you going in and looking at their fulfillment process? Are you looking at their course? Are you vetting it to make sure that what you're promoting actually has a chance of succeeding? Because if it doesn't work, then they can be like, oh, well, that's partly your fault. But you could say, well, no, like your course is crap.
Right. Right. And that's exactly right. Right. We have to monitor the markets for demand. If they're doing underwater basket weaving or something like that, obviously that's a client we probably wouldn't work with in the high ticket space. But just working with clients that they have some level of credibility, mean they've done deals, right, at a high level. So they have some social proof, some proof of concept. And what they really need help with is the lead generation or refining what they already have that's converting and that's working. So those are the type of clients we typically like to work with. But ultimately there is a vetting process. We do a lot of vetting on the front end. How much revenue is currently being generated? What's the price point of the service? So we take potential clients or prospects through a form first, and then a discovery call to see if is it a scalable market, right? Is there opportunity for growth? B, does that opportunity for growth align with their goals, to make sure we set the right expectation? And C, is the business the right fit for us to work with? Because a lot of times maybe you can deliver the results, but it's not the right fit, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, it is okay. And it protects your reputation too. Because if you just took anybody that came in and then, they're not having success because of something that just didn't mesh with, your foundation, then when you're out there trying to find new clients, somebody could say, oh yeah, well, Jeremie didn't do this, or the Watson agency didn't do this. And so I can see it's very important to make sure that you're vetting them out, because if you accept somebody who has a low chance of success, then that's going to affect your success as an agency.
That's absolutely right.
You've mentioned someplace I was reading the importance of elevating brand authority. First of all, what does that mean? And then thinking about people who are listening, who are trying to elevate their brand authority, what are some simple steps that they can take to start building their brand, today and even in 2025?
Yeah, I think brand authority, it really determining who your audience is. So what problem are you solving, right? And for who? When you can determine that audience, what kind of value can I provide to that market to be seen as an authority, right? So a lot of times this is big, especially in the offer creation or crafting the offer, because, you want to make sure, one, that the information that you're delivering is relevant to the target audience, right? It's got to be relevant, it's got to be unique, and it's got to be valuable. So those are the three things. a good way to build authority, social media. I mean, that's a great free way to build authority, just by providing content, providing value in that respect, in that regard. But there are several different channels to leverage. But it's all about, how can we provide value to said segment or said segment of the market, to essentially be seen as a person that can solve the problem.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to see work. I mean, because there's so many people now that are, launching their brands. It's this concept of a personal brand or a company brand just didn't really exist outside of, major companies, 5 to 10 years ago. And now we got, all these social media platforms where you can literally go out and just market for free. And just all you got to do is just be consistent about getting the good content out there and providing value. And that helps with people to get started. But then, one of your expertise is to scale, right? You're not going to work with just anybody who's starting off. Most of your clients are scaling to these, 6, 7, 8 figure businesses. Like, how do you go from just having some meaningful success, or how do you help them start to scale to where you can start adding zeros to their revenue?
Well, the type of businesses we like to work with are higher ticket businesses, right? So you got to be selling a higher ticket product. Increasing, the ticket of the product decreases the number of sales you need. So if we're taking let's say a person that has a digital product, and we're just trying to get them to 6 figures, they're selling a $500 product. I mean, you're really only looking at 20 sales a month to get them there. So it's not rocket science. It's like setting targets based on the growth rate of the market and what's capable of the market, and what segment of the market we want to target. We set those targets, and then essentially we put a plan in place to hit those targets or actualize those targets.
Right.
And it's customizable based on the business, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what are some examples of some ways that you would start to help a business scale? Like, what are some like practical things that you can do, or that people can do in their businesses to scale from, say, 100,000 to 1 million?
Well, you got to run traffic, right? You got to determine what channel, as I said, your audience is hanging out on, right? If you're going B2B, looking at LinkedIn, right? Looking at Facebook, you're going direct to consumer. So identifying what channel you're going to leverage, and then putting together a budget essentially to run traffic. Paid ads is, for high ticket, always, in my opinion, the best way to kind of scale. If you have a large network and you're kind of seen as an authority in that network, JVs work really well, as you and I, both know from running JV campaigns, collaborating with others that have large lists, and doing list swaps. It's really based on the business and the needs of the business, but ultimately you're going to have to figure out a way to generate some traffic to get people into your funnel. You're going to have to refine your offer. That is, who is it for? What problem do they have? What solution are you going to present? Making sure it's properly priced, making sure that the model by which you're selling to said audience is a model that they're used to buying in, right? Making sure that it's unique, it's simple, it's repeatable, creating, a unique selling proposition, something that's going to make your offer unique versus everything else that's out there in the business. And then from there, we're just building authority, right? And then running traffic. I mean, it's simple, but not easy, right? It's not too complex, especially the way that we've set up the class framework and the steps that we take a company through. It's pretty simple. It's the implementation and really doing the market research on the back end. That's really where working with an agency like us is going to, buy you back some time. At the end of the day, when you're selling high ticket, you're working, you have a team, you're working with these, time is the most valuable asset.
Right.
So, could you, as a business owner, learn how to run ads, create graphics, develop a website? I mean, yeah, but do you have 5 or 10 years to dedicate to learn how to do this? Most business owners are going to say no. I want results today. I gotta solve this problem today for the market. So that's really where we come in. We've done it at a high level for many businesses, and we can do it for our clients as well. So
Yeah, that's one of the things that entrepreneurs are well known for is cutting corners and trying to do things on the cheap.
yeah,
And I mean, that's part of the reason why we succeed is because we're doing those things, right? We're hacking business to try to do it better, but it doesn't always work. And I mean, that's probably, some of the sad stories you hear about businesses is them spending a bunch of money either trying to do it themselves, or I've spent six figures on crappy agencies that just spend the first 2 or 3 months doing due diligence and doing, customer personas and just blowing through the money. And then when they get to running an ad, it's like they're so far gone. What are some of the roadblocks of this process, and where do people go sideways?
it's a good question. I think it's really one of four things is where most companies are going to miss the boat and get low conversions. Either you've identified the wrong market, right? You're selling to the wrong people, right? That's who they are, what their problem is, what's their motivation. You haven't really tapped into what that is, so you're selling to the wrong segment of the market. That's one thing. Or you have the wrong solution, the wrong product or wrong service to speak to them. So
Mhm.
either wrong segment of the market, wrong product or solution, or the third thing, you're selling on the wrong channel. If the people are on Instagram and you're selling on LinkedIn, obvious disconnect, right? You're not selling in the right place. You could have the right market, the right product, the right solution for their problem. But if you're not putting the message out where the people are, you're not going to get conversions. And the last thing is selling with the wrong pricing model or the wrong mechanism. So maybe it's incorrectly priced, right? It's not the right price.
Mhm.
Your time to value is too long or too short, right? Well, not too short, but too long, right? The time to value is too long. So,
Right.
so it's one of those four things more often than not.
Yeah. One of the things I thought you would mention in that list was the messaging itself, because crafting the message of the offer is so important, because somebody can come in and be like, all right, here's my widget.
Mhm.
It's this long, it's this tall, it does this thing and does this thing, and they're selling features rather than benefits, and they're not touching that emotional nerve of the person they're selling to, which typically triggers people to buy, not the
Mhm.
the value stack of the features, but the value in the benefits.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So the value proposition is super important. What's also super important is the hook. So when you speak messaging, how are you bringing them in? What is the hook, right? What angle are you going to take, and what is the hook? What is that time to value? And then what is the retention method to really make them sticky and want to come back? So
Can you talk more about, crafting that messaging? Is there a trick to it? There's good copywriters out there, and sometimes, like you said, it could be years of experience before people kind of figure that out. I've written a lot of copy
Mhm.
in my, past, and doing stuff for Privy. I was never really great at it. I would get some conversions, and there's a lot of people that are really good about just touching that emotional nerve. Is there a trick to it?
Yeah, I think the trick really is to speak to the value, never talk pricing, right? Speak to the value. What problems are you solving? What problems do they have that you're able to solve? I think that's really the trick. Um, Providing as much social proof as you possibly can. Social proof works really well. That's the
Mhm.
credibility and branding aspect of the class framework. FAQs, really addressing those objections that they may have with frequently asked questions. That always works tremendously well as well. Really trying to get into the prospect's head, right? What are they thinking? What are their pain points? What would be their motivation to move forward to work with you? What would be their motivation to use your product versus the competition? So I think I hate to use the word trick, but I think um, the best path forward is to try to get into the prospect's head, right? The
Yeah,
conversation that they're having with themselves.
got it. So you've tested a lot of different strategies.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a better word than trick. Um, but is there like a lesser known? marketing strategy out there that you've seen or you've used that delivered, some surprising results?
Yeah, I think affiliate marketing is a great channel for the right business, right? Affiliate marketing, running JV campaigns works extremely well. I think it's a best kept secret for the right business, right? If you have a ton of credibility, if you have a good idea of how much a lead cost you, if you got the messaging down, I think that's a channel that most businesses should definitely take a look into.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Affiliate marketing definitely is one of those things that, people talk about but don't really understand. And if done right, it can be extremely powerful because there's no cost really unless there's a successful sale. And so that could be super powerful. So you don't have that out of pocket upfront cost for a paid ad when, maybe the messaging is crappy or there's something broken in the funnel that is not converting. And you find out later after you spend all kinds of money on a paid campaign.
Exactly. Exactly. And conversely, you're going to be able to determine pretty quickly whether the thing I like about affiliates too is you'll be able to determine very quickly if it's the offer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and like you said, obviously there are benefits in not having to invest these exuberant amounts on paid traffic. That's an added bonus. But I think the main thing is uh, understanding, is it the right offer, the right product, the right value proposition, to your point, the right hook, right time to value for the market. And that's what you want to determine as quickly as possible so that you can pivot before investing a bunch of money into something that won't convert.
Yeah. So you you helped the business scale to $50 million in revenue. Was that New Reach?
Helped, yeah. I work with New Reach to help
Yeah.
them scale. Yeah. Hmm.
Um, which is a crazy amount of money. I mean, if you had to distill that success down into like say like three non-negotiable rules, what would they be?
I think you need the right one. You need the right. Uh, when we speak to New Reach, they obviously are an online education company that has brand visionaries, right? You need the right brand visionaries. That's number one. The brand visionaries have to have credibility. They have to know what they're talking about, and they have to have authority in the space. That's number two. One. Number two is you have to have a really good offer that speaks to the market, right? It has to
Mhm.
solve their problem. You can't scale to those type of levels, as a just with hooks and angles, right? There has to be something tangible behind it, and I think that New Reach, one, they're an incredible company. Number two, they have incredible brand visionaries who really care about their communities and about the people that God called them to help, which is really awesome. And the last thing I would really say about that is timing, and I think
Mm.
timing is something that you can't measure, right? When they hit the market at the right time. Sometimes, taking a product to market, the stars align for a certain level of scale. So being wise enough to understand when that time is and being wise enough to take advantage of that timing will serve you well and take you a
Yeah.
long way.
Yeah, you're right about the timing thing. It's extremely hard to measure. There are other industries where timing, there's KPIs. Like you can look at the stock market and you can see trends, right? And you can see things going up and down, and there's these markers, and it's like when to buy and sell, and it gets very tactical. But there isn't anything like that in our business, when you're selling a product or service. Some of it measures with that, right? Because a lot of what people are buying and selling has to do with how much money they have in their own, you know, liquidity. And so they can afford to go and buy stuff if the economy's good, if there's, low unemployment, if economic indicators are good overall.
Yep.
Do you see that affecting it? Like when rates were up, right? And we were in the education space for a lot of like real estate products. Did you see that affect sales of the products that you guys were selling?
Not speaking to new reach, but just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely things definitely affect sales. Looking at the economy, man, when it's harder to access capital, when it's harder to access funding, it's going to affect just about every vertical, right? So of course, sales will slow down. As I said, not speaking to new reach, but just speaking in general from the clients
Yeah.
that I've worked with in my own business. Yeah, that definitely is a huge factor.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, looking back through your career, like what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen businesses make in marketing where you're like, oh man, like that's like marketing 101. What are some of those things you've seen that just everybody should avoid doing?
I think like being stubborn on price, being
Mhm.
stubborn or slow to adapt to changing markets. We look at great case studies like Blockbuster and what Netflix and the way they could have acquired Netflix. You think about that and just being slow to essentially adapt with the changes of the market, right? Understanding the macro micro trends that are at work, and not adapting to them. We look at COVID being locked inside, 2020, 2021. You saw the rise of companies like Zoom. You saw the rise of store-to-door companies, and some people capitalized massively on that market trend. So I think the best thing any company can do is be adaptable.
Mm. So thinking about that, that same line, where do you think people are still doing that? Like, do you see anything in the marketing world that's changing? And they're like, no, like I still love doing SEO, right? Like SEO is where it's at. I've always done SEO. I've always done it a certain way. Like what's dying and what is emerging in the digital space that people should start looking at?
I think AI has been paramount in this
Mhm.
space, and I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of having a way to execute routine tasks in the business. Right, it's eliminated a lot of positions in the business, lower overhead costs for a lot of businesses. But you do every once in a while see businesses that are in the space that are resistant to kind of adapt AI for whatever that reason may be. I would strongly advise against that, um, and tell those businesses to embrace AI, embrace technology. There's so many tools out here that can save you so much time, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Time is our biggest asset. That's why most people are in business, to help people, to provide value to those who need it, but also to buy back some of our time as well.
So the first part of that question was the stubbornness of people, things that they won't let go of. Do you have any examples of some of those things that people should just be like, all right, it's time to move on?
Yeah, like I ran into a potential client who was all in on direct mail, despite communicating to them the value of paid advertising. Gives you so much more in terms of audience data, right? Data points, age, location, demographic, zip code, conversion rates. There's so much more that you can do with that. And not to say go completely away from said channel, but why don't we try incorporating some of these channels in as well? I think that it can be more fruitful. It gives you a broader reach. So just things like that, right? Being stubborn, not being adaptable to new things. And you see the people that are kind of at the forefront of any growing space, they're always trying new things, challenges. They're they're speaking on stages. They're all over the country. They're trying everything to see what works, what doesn't, to
Mhm.
be able to implement it quickly and quickly discard the things that don't work. So I think that's that growth mentality is where all businesses should be leaning.
Yeah. And you mentioned like the multiple channels, right? So that omni-channel marketing. Like, do you have any lessons for the audience on like, okay, if you are going to try multiple channels, like here's a strategy that will help with that? Like, are there certain channels that work well together and others that like, okay, like you don't do direct mail and paid ads, or or these two channels work well
Mhm.
together?
Yeah, yeah. If you're speaking to social media, if you're speaking to businesses on social media, um, more often than not, you're going to want to leverage LinkedIn, right? You're going to want to leverage Facebook. Another big trend that's emerging is long form content on YouTube, right? Because it's a good paid way to essentially get people into your funnel and indoctrinate them, provide value for free. So you see a lot of people pushing even from their paid ads to YouTube, and then YouTube to offer, right? That's where they push
Mhm.
to their core event. It's from the actual YouTube. That way you get the watch time, gives you ability to monetize it, but also you're indoctrinating them with free value. So YouTube is a channel that I think is gonna blow up over the course of 2025. We're already seeing things kind of trending that way, but um,
Mhm.
that'd be a huge piece of advice that I would give to business owners.
Yeah.
Leverage, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, YouTube is definitely changing. I was always leery of it because there's no form to capture
Hmm.
information. You can just show up. And the form to capture strategy was always great with webinars, but people always tell me like webinars are dead. Like, what do you think about webinars?
I don't think webinars are dead. I I tend to disagree with that. I think it depends on the offer, and I think it strongly depends on the offer and the segment of the market that you're going after. But I think all of these type of events can work, right? VSL still work. I think webinars still work for the right offer. It just depends on the offer. So
Hmm.
like
Gotcha.
like one size fits all in marketing, I think that's bad practice. When people make blanket statements and say ads don't work or email doesn't work or you know this type of training doesn't work, I think that's where the benefit of working with marketing specialists or agency comes in because, as I said, it works for the right market, the right product, the right or service, the right channel. Like so that's like channel selection. So webinars may not work for certain businesses, but they certainly work for other businesses.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so we mentioned a lot of different things today. Um, but if you could just give people like a starter pack, like they're just thinking about, getting started, maybe they're not quite ready for an agency like yours, but they want to start implementing some strategies and some tools, some of the things that we've talked about today. What would you give them as like the top three things that they can start doing in their business today?
Number one, I would really work work to figure out what problem you're solving. That's number one, right? What is the
Hmm.
problem that your product or service solves? You know, who are you solving it for? Right? Get really clear on that. It sounds like very simple instructions, but you'd be surprised how many people don't ask themselves these simple questions, right? Um, what is the problem? Who am I solving it for? And then the last thing I would say is, even if you don't want to work with an agency, you know, have the conversation with an agency or somebody that's a specialist in that space, because it's going to save you a lot of time, right?
Hmm.
You wouldn't do surgery on yourself. You wouldn't try to fix your own, car engine. Your marketing isn't any different. If marketing truly is the vehicle by which all businesses scale, I would strongly encourage all business owners to have that conversation with some sort of marketing specialist who can help you out and point you in the right direction.
Yeah. So you've given a lot of good nuggets today to people, it's things they can implement into their businesses or at least start getting the wheels turning about maybe some things they can do differently in 2025. Who are the people listening to this today who should consider calling the Watson agency?
Yeah, I think if you have a product or service that's unique, that's different, that's in a growing market, and that it's a high ticket product, reach out to us, have the conversation. Can't hurt. We can book a free discovery call with myself, with my team to kind of discuss your goals to see it, one, if it's going to be the right fit. Number two, can we actually help you? And it's free. So at the end of the day, no risk, opportunity. So,
Mhm.
if you have a product or service that's high ticket and a scalable market, and you have, some form of budget, let's jump on the phone call and let's talk.
Awesome. And where can they find you?
They can find us at thewatson.agency, uh, as well as at the Watson Marketing on all channels.
Watson Marketing. Okay, great. Well, this has been amazing, man. I really appreciate you sharing some of these things from like behind the curtain, and give us a taste of the business that you're involved in. And congratulations on all the success that you've had so far. I know you're going to do big things in 2025. You got anything coming up soon? Any events or anything big to talk about with one of your clients? Somebody who's doing some cool stuff you want to share?
Yeah, I do actually. We do have, and this will be good for any of your listeners. Number one, I want to give away our 7-figure tech stack, which are all of the AI and automation systems that work well to automate your business in 2025, right? So if they go to 7figuretechstack.com, they can download that ebook completely free, just using the code PRIVY.
Awesome. Okay. So 7-figure tech stack.
Yep, 7-figure tech stack. All right, and we're also going to be doing a training on the 29th and 30th. This is for business owners that don't have a digital product. So if you're a service-based business, a coach, if you're a consultant, we're going to be doing a training on the 29th and 30th, just showing you how to create your own digital product, how to build out your funnel, how to put that together, and then how to take it to market and generate the traffic. That's on the 29th and 30th. All you have to do is go to 10kand31days.com to register for the free training. It's completely free.
That's awesome. 10kand31days.com. You guys go check that out. Check out the Watson Agency. Appreciate everybody listening. Jeremie, thank you for taking the time, sir. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.